There's this story that my uncle used to tell me, and I don't know if it's true or not, but we'll assume it's true. It sounds like it could be true. It's about the Buddha. So the Buddha would go and he would preach and lecture to people. He'd talk about nirvana, salvation, the Eightfold Path, enlightenment, and so forth. There's one group of people in some city that would just curse him, spit at him. They wouldn't like listening to what he said. And so one of the Buddha's people, his disciples maybe, one of the people that was around him said, "Why do you go to this town and lecture when they hate you, they don't like you, they spit at you, they curse at you?" The Buddha says, "Before nirvana, I wouldn't have gone to this town. After nirvana, I act, not react." He was the ultimate frame setter in that sense. Instead of being entirely receptive to the stimulus around him and the circumstances around him, he sourced his reality from inside himself and then put it out into the real world. And from that, he was able to bring into the world a knowledge that, and spread a knowledge that probably at that point had not been known to that degree or that in that widespread of a manner. So how does this relate to a regular person? Well, we're very reactive to our environments and to our scenarios, and we must be, in a sense, because we are always reacting, right? If there was a tiger there, I would react. If there's a person there, I would react. We live in synchronicity with what's around us. The problem is, though, giving too much power to the external, giving too much power, more importantly, to our perception of the external, and then mistaking our perception for the actual reality, when in reality it's our perception. And the further implications of living in this way is that our perceptions are largely based around fear of our own annihilation, based in immense self-protection, when it's often not warranted. An animal, when they're getting chased by a predator, they get chased, they run, and then they either get caught and killed, or they escape. Then it's over. Their fight or flight response reacts when it should, and then they either fight or they fly. Humans, because of their intelligent minds, are able to carry intense loads of stress that are the problem, the main problem in our civilization today. It's the root of most of the things that you see. Whatever crimes they may be at a minor or major scale, they're almost always rooted in some deep egoic level of thinking that then externalizes itself as malevolence. And what happens when you're malevolent? So there's this show called 24. Spoiler alert. This is the first season, I'm fairly certain. The bad guy, his wife got killed by Jack Bauer's team, right? And so he wants to exact revenge on Jack Bauer. Jack Bauer is the American CTU, counter-terrorist unit guy. And basically he wants to exact revenge, an eye for an eye sort of thing, right? He instead of dealing with the pain of his wife being killed and the loss of his wife, more importantly, instead of dealing with that pain, he's made this enemy out of Jack. He's he's reacting off of the external, or he's reacting off of the seeming external. He's reacting off of his perception of who Jack is. And then in order to fulfill this story of this reactiveness, he externalizes malevolence, and he wants to kill Jack's wife in revenge. So what does that mean? So this woman, Jack's wife, who's completely uninvolved, completely unrelated to this in a direct sense, now becomes a victim of some guy's ego. Now she is a potential victim of his malevolence. And that's because he's reacting instead of acting. And not even reacting, see, he's reacting in a diluted way. He's not reacting off of a threat in the immediate circumstance. He's reacting off of a story that's playing in his head over and over and over and over. Yeah, so this is very typical of ego-based behavior and ego-based thinking. Revenge is entirely that. Wanting other people to suffer when you're suffering is entirely that. And the only thing that really lifts you out of it is grace. Grace, love, elevation, so to say, where you can't argue with somebody who has their mindset to do something bad necessarily. They're just going to defend their position. But they're acting emotionally. They're acting in a malevolent emotional sense. But if you can express love to them, or just don't react to whatever their egoic line of thinking is, you can get them to see the vanity and, more importantly, the nastiness of whatever it is that they're trying to perpetrate. And in that sense, you can be a tremendous influencer of your surroundings, of the people around you, through your own action, through your own initiative, through your own action rather than reaction, through your frame making rather than frame taking, through your ability to source reality from within yourself rather than run around looking for every scrap of pleasure you can find in the world around you. And then you can bring people along with you, because the light of that is so powerful. They'll look on you as somebody to be learned from, or they'll just feel good around you and be attracted to that energy. And therein lies a whole host of dynamic shifts in consciousness for yourself and your surroundings, and dimensional shifts in the type of life that you and we all can live. And I see that as a potential future for the 21st century and for time thereafter, if we're able to elevate our minds and elevate our souls into higher and more noble things, into grace, serenity, love, rather than malevolence, revenge, ego, and so forth. That will do a lot of good for all of us, and it will do very much good for the person doing it themselves. This takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot of devotion to doing things that are initially painful, but things that pay off. And it's worth it, not just for ourselves, although for ourselves certainly, but for the many people, the many hosts of people, the generations that will live in the world that we're inhabiting right now. Not one generation, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Many generations will follow in 200 or 300 years, and for time to come. So what type of humanity do we want to build? What type of people do we want to be? And how will that influence the world that's shaped for others to live and be born in, just as we were born and lived in the last, presumably, 20 to 70 years. We're probably all born, most of us at least. Most people who be watching this. So, with that being said, let's do our best. Let's do our best for ourselves and for everybody else. Let's do our best to elevate ourselves.